The Ipuwer Papyrus, also called Admonitions of Ipuwer, is a controversial text that some scholars believe is proof of the biblical Exodus. The main controversy about the text is that it puts the Exodus many centuries earlier than what the Bible or the Torah claims. It places the events sometime around the first intermediate period, just at the end of the Old Kingdom, which to some is considered the Dark Ages of ancient Egypt. Meanwhile, the Book of Jasher, like the Torah, speaks a great deal about the Exodus, but also places the Exodus centuries earlier than what the Torah says. The Book of Jasher is an alternate Hebrew text of the events of the Old Testament from Abraham to Moses and Joshua, but it certainly has a more mythological feel to it. Before I get to that, here are a few comparisons between the text of the papyrus and the Exodus as written in the Torah. A nice comparison was written by Rabbi Mordecai Becker. It is the first link in the description box for reference. The papyrus. Plague is throughout the land, blood is everywhere, or the river is blood. The Torah. All the waters of the river were turned into blood. There was blood throughout all the land of Egypt, and the river stank. The papyrus. The land is without light. Exodus. And there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt. The papyrus. Forsooth, the children of princes are dashed against the walls. He who places his brother in the ground is everywhere. They're talking about everyone burying their brother. It is groaning throughout the land, mingled with lamentations. The Torah. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive that was in the prison. There was not a house where there was not one dead. There was a great cry in Egypt. The papyrus. Gold and lapis lazuli, silver and malachite, carnelian and bronze are fastened on the neck of female slaves. The Torah. And they requested from the Egyptians silver and gold articles and clothing, and God made the Egyptians favor them, and they granted their request. The Israelites thus drained Egypt of its wealth. Now the book of Jasher specifically names the Pharaoh that lived during the days of Moses, both actually. The Pharaoh in the days of Moses' youth, and his son, with whom Moses and Aaron contended with to free the Israelites from slavery. This will be the second link provided in the description box below. Adikam was 20 years old when he reigned over Egypt. He reigned 4 years. In the 206th year of Israel's going down to Egypt did Adikam reign over Egypt, but he continued not so long in his reign over Egypt as his fathers had continued their reigns. For Malol, his father, reigned 94 years in Egypt, but he was 10 years sick and died, for he had been wicked before the Lord. 94 years. That's quite a specific length of rule for a man called Malol, and afterwards 4 years of which Adikam ruled over Egypt during the Exodus itself. Okay, let's compare that to a list of pharaohs. Surely someone with a length of rule of 94 years should show up if this was correct. This will be the third link provided in the description box below. Oh, and there it is. Pepi II, Neferkari, who ruled from 2278 to 2184 BCE. That's exactly 94 years. He is the second to last pharaoh of the Old Kingdom, just as scholars have placed the events of the Ipuwer Papyrus that they believe is the Egyptian version of the Exodus. Amazing, right? Even more, the next ruler, named Adikam in the Book of Jasher, is said to have ruled 4 years. In the list of pharaohs, we have Nitiqret, or Nitocris, who ruled for 3 years. That's pretty darn close. Now, on a side note, Manetho believed Nitiqret was a female, but as the Book of Jasher relates, the first child of Malol was Bathia the elder, who was the daughter that raised Moses. Here, check it out. Book of Jasher, chapter 76. And these were their names. The firstborn Othri, the second Adikam, and the third Morion, and their sisters, the name of the elder Bathia, and the other Akuzi. And Othri, the firstborn of the king, was an idiot, precipitate, and hurried in his words. But Adikam was cunning, and wise man, and knowing in all the wisdom of Egypt, but of unseemly aspect, thick in flesh, and very short in stature. His height was 1 cubit. So, now we have 2 ancient texts pointing to the same time, the end of the Old Kingdom, for Exodus. But the good folks who follow the Torah were told it was much later. So it begs the question, Is the timeline of the Torah incorrect? Some would even say that asking such a thing is blasphemous. But this wouldn't be the first time. For example, the famine stela seems to match up with the biblical famine that happened during the days of Joseph as he ruled over Egypt. The famine stela places that pharaoh as Djoser and Joseph as Imhotep, who ruled in the 3rd dynasty, which again places that even much further back than what the Torah relates. There's already a really good video explaining this. It's the 4th link in the description box. I love that video, so if you have a moment to watch it, you might just be surprised. Personally, I do not doubt that the events happened. It's just a matter of whose timeline to believe, which in the end will ultimately be up to you.